Strap yourselves in for the real history of the evil pumpkin. Stay tuned. All right, so this video is going to kind of serve as a historical document of the evolution and history of the evil pumpkin, how we got from there to here. Bear with me as I speak extemporaneously. I'm probably going to remember things as I go. But yeah, just bear with me on that. That's the best way I know how to do it. So in order to get here, we got to start there. So let's rewind the clock 14 years to 2009. I'm on a forum. The old internet forums, they're still around, but I think they're less frequented these days. I don't know. I don't go to them anymore, so I don't know. But anyway, I used to go to this one forum a lot, and I was on there hanging out, posting clips, doing stuff, whatever. And then, Mike Fortin shows up, and he's got some mods going on, and, some guys have some of his amps, and the mods sound really cool. They're kind of in that cock rock, hair metal kind of territory, because that's what that forum was about. And I dug it because I like that shit too, so it's all good. So I reached out to Mike and I was like, hey man, those sound really good. Do you do anything in like the heavier vein of stuff? And he's like, yeah man. He goes, what are you into? And I said, well, how about like Fear Factory Demanufacture album tone, or rolling it back even further, SOD Speak English or Die, or Anthrax Among the Living, records that were kind of out, SOD before and then Anthrax after that. But the tones on those records just astonishingly badass for the time. They're kind of what got me into the whole right-hand chug machine kind of thing that I do. And anyway, Mike was like, yeah, man, I'm totally down with that. And we should definitely, try to do something. So he said, well, what kind of donor amp do you have? And I said, well, I have a 100-watt Plexi that's unmodded, untouched, stock Marshall reissue Plexi, which is this amp. I think it's a 97 or something like that, 97 Marshall Plexi. It was totally, completely bone stock. It was already in this orange head shell, though, and I had that recovered previously. And quick story about that, when I was about 17, my band opened, or 18 maybe, my band opened for Badlands, which was Jakey Lee. He used to be in Ozzy's band, and after that, he had a band called Badlands. My band played with him. He's a big hero of mine, and he had 2 Marshall full stacks, both of them covered in orange, and I just thought it was badass. So all these years later, I got an amp, a Plexi, and I had it recovered in orange. So that's where the orange came from, completely out of nowhere, just total, coincidence. So anyway, I send the amp up to Mike, and he's like, hey, let's discuss the mod or whatever. So I had seen another mod that he had done on that forum, and it was pretty brutal. It was cool. I think the amp was in Canada. It was somewhere where kind of near where he was. And I can't remember if I heard a clip of it or not, but he described it to me, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like, right up my alley. So I'll show a picture of the original when I got it back. The pictures are kind of old, so bear with me on the quality of those. But so yeah, sent it up to him, got it back, and it's basically what was called a Hulk mod at the time. So that's got the girth and the grind on it, and it's got the kill switch for the extra gain boost, and basically that's it. I played that amp for about a year and a half, was stoked with it, super dry, super tight. Really loved it for my stuff. Posted some videos that were not very good. Like the video was pretty bad. Riffing was pretty good and tones were pretty good. They got a lot of attention, and it started kind of blowing up a little bit. And I kind of developed the whole killer tone thing. Well, I had it kind of going before then, but I really kind of developed it around, the attention that amp was getting. And so started to build on that and made a few really poor videos 14 years ago. I'll post the links to these videos too. They're all on my YouTube channel, have been for years. I'll put them all on there in case you haven't seen them. Yeah, so got it back. It was the Hulk mod and dug it, had it for a year and a half, decided, you know what, man, I was thinking of, while I had it, I was like, I'd really like something that was a little more saturated, a little bit more forgiving. And so I reached out to Mike and I said, hey man, do you have anything that's got that kind of more hot rodded 80s thing that I could get that could also be heavy if I wanted to get heavy? He's like, yeah, I got an idea for that. What donor amp do you have for that? And I said, well, I have a 77 Marshall JMP 2203, which was this amp here. Now that amp had an issue. It wasn't working at the time. And I don't think it was anything major. I think it was a pretty easy fix, but I sent that up to Mike. I think he recapped it, did the full mod and got it up and running again. And that ended up being the Killer Cali Plus Plus. Now I named the Killer Cali with the 2Ks, with the Cali with the K. And it got used for other amps and just kind of got taken over by other people, which is fine. It's no big deal. But I initially named the amp after this amp, and then it kind of got spread to others. But this amp here, show a couple pictures of it front and back, was a special, high gain mod. It's got a Jose thing. I never used the Jose of it, but it's the first mod that he did with the violence switch that ended up making it on the Cali later. But the story behind the Killer Cali, the 2Ks, is because, another too much information, but whatever, dude. We're, it's YouTube. We're having fun. The Cali's got a K because one of my favorite movies is California. If you haven't seen it, it's a killer movie about a murder spree going across the United States. And it's got David Duchovny, Brad Pitt, and Juliette Lewis. And it's pretty old. I think it's 90s somewhere. But it's a sick movie. And so I named it the Cali with the K. So anyway, that's how that goes. So I got this amp and was stoked about all the compression and the saturation it had. So at this time I was like, hey, what if I sent this back to you? And I had a couple ideas. I said, why don't we do a sweepable mid? And then why don't we also do a clean channel on it? And then how about maybe try to make a lead mode on that amp that's a little more compressed? And he said, yeah, let's do it. So I sent that amp up to him, had this amp during the time, made a couple of videos with this, not a whole lot. I'll link those as well. And so had this amp for a while that one was getting finished. So fast forward to about, I think it was spring or summer of 2012, I get this amp back in its state that it's in currently, which has the sweepable mid, it has the lead mode, it has a full clean channel, and it's been like that ever since. So it's important to note that this amp actually predates all Randall amps that have the girth and grind on it. It's before those. It's before all Randall amps. Anything that says Randall on it that has a girth and grind, this was before it, okay? The Natos, I think he was developing at the same time. I don't really know the history of that, but this was still before production Natos. I think they might have been going on at the same time. But this is a different voice. It's got kind of my thing on it. And so, yeah, got it back and totally loved it as it was with that sweepable mid and that clean channel. Just fantastic. He did such a killer job. And, kept posting clips, whatever, and kind of built this thing up. And people just kept saying, hey, you should do an amp. You should do an amp. You should make a production model of it. And we just kind of joked about it, whatever. And then Mike started his company kind of making pedals and was successful doing that. And talk kind of came again. He did the Meshuggahs, did the Calis, had success doing that. And then was like, okay, maybe it's time for us to do it. However, a lot of y'all don't know that I work as a touring front of house engineer for one of the largest, biggest artists in the world. And I'm on tour with him about 5.5 months a year. So I work, luckily with this tour, it's a fantastic gig and very happy to have it. And I'm gone a lot. So it's hard for me to kind of collaborate and be home and do stuff. And on top of that, Mike was busy with his stuff. So it just took us a while to get to it. But around 2019, late 2019, we started really, really working on it. And by 2020 NAMM, January 2020, we had a working prototype, which we showed at NAMM and made a little quick video off the NAMM floor of that. It got a bunch of likes and a bunch of views. And yeah, man, everyone dug it. It was cool. That prototype needed a whole lot of work, as we knew. And we went, home from NAMM thinking, all right, let's just, let's fine tune this thing and get it going. And then COVID hit and the amp is made. This amp is made in the UK, and the UK shut down hard. They shut down much harder than the US did. And so it literally knocked us out for probably about a close to 18 months before we could kind of get going. And then on top of that, tubes got very, very scarce. Part supplies were already bad up until then. Every amp, this isn't just us. Every amp builder was dealing with this kind of stuff. So it just just added time and time and time. So, you know, as COVID kind of died down, things came back, the UK came back. And then Mike had other stuff going on. He had pedals stuff going on. He had other designs he was working on, all that kind of stuff. We kind of regrouped earlier this year and decided this year is the year to finally get it done without question. So we just put the hammer down and got it done. I flew up to Toronto and we had the prototype there, played through it again. I hadn't played through it since that NAMM 2020. And we went through it and I was like, okay, I want to refine this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. He was like, cool. Took all the notes. He refined a bunch of stuff. I actually flew up there again and did it again. And we worked on it a couple of times. And that last time was what led to this guy right here. So yeah, we arrived at this incarnation here after I flew up there the last time. And I wanted to, one of the things I told Mike when we decided to do the signature model was that I don't want it to be a straight copy of this amp right here. There are actually things I love. I mean, there's so much I love about this amp, but there's a couple of things that I really kind of wanted to tweak and kind of, if I had my druthers, I'd, you know, tweak on it a little bit more and change this and change that, whatever. And he was like, dude, let's do it. Get what you want. Dude, let's do what you want. So we did that with this amp. And this amp came out insane. I mean, it came out so good. In a lot of ways, it's more versatile than that amp. It'll do more because it's got the KK channel on there, the Killer Cali channel. The EP channel is a little fatter on this amp, which I like a lot. Then you have the 3 9-volt outputs on it. You have the MIDI switching. There's a bunch of updates that are, you know, just, you know, functional, awesome functional updates that make it a lot easier to use live. So, I mean, I love this amp, and in a lot of ways, I like it better than that amp, and that's going to blow people's minds, but that's the truth. It's the absolute truth. It sounds so good, and I'm so happy with how it came out. I'll wrap it up by saying, you know, to anyone who's supported anything I've ever done, whether it's buying an amp or a guitar from Solar or whatever, you know, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot to me. Or if we've just hung out at NAMM or whatever, and you said hello and has nothing to do with commerce, because that's not what I'm in this for. You know, that's awesome. I appreciate every single kind word that anyone's ever said to me and all the encouragement that you guys give. And lastly, I just want to add that no matter what gear you use, whether it's an Evil Pumpkin or some other awesome amp that's out there, there's so many great ones out there. There's so much great guitar gear out there. It's the best time ever to be a guitar player for guitar products. It's insane out there. But hopefully, whatever you're using makes you happy. This makes me happy. This makes me want to create. It makes me want to write chugging, brutal, sick riffs. That's what it makes me want to do. It makes me want to contribute. And hopefully your gear makes you want to do the same. Thanks for watching this video, and stick around. We got more stuff. I got another playthrough coming on the Pumpkin. And yeah, cheers, man. We'll see you guys later.